What if the most damaging royal rumor of the last decade didn't start with proof, witnesses, or leaked documents, but with a joke that wasn't even meant for the public? And what if the woman who finally shut it down didn't do it to win sympathy, but because she was tired of watching her children grow up inside a lie? Yeah, this one's heavier than it looks, so settle in. Because to understand why this moment mattered, you have to understand how long Catherine stayed quiet and how loud that silence really was. Picture Kensington Palace on an autumn evening. Not the postcard version, not the sunny balcony shots, the real one. Quiet halls, dim lights reflecting off polished floors, fog pressing against the windows like London itself is eavesdropping. These walls have heard arguments between kings, grief after sudden deaths, whispers that never made it past velvet curtains. And for years, one rumor floated through those halls like background noise, always there, never acknowledged, never confronted, until 2025. This is the first and only time I will address this. Those words landed like a dropped glass in a silent room. Rose Hanbury is a friend. She has never had any improper link to my husband. These baseless rumors stirred by Meghan's circle must stop. No theatrics, no interviews, no carefully staged tears. Just a line drawn so cleanly it startled people who'd grown used to her restraint. And here's the thing. Catherine doesn't do impulsive. Ever. Every appearance, every statement, every silence is measured. So when she speaks this directly, you know something has finally crossed from manageable to unacceptable. So why now? Let's rewind. Way back. Before Netflix deals, before memoirs, before hashtags and factions and stan wars. March 2019. A strange time for the royal family. On the surface, everything looked polished. Weddings, babies, smiles. But underneath, cracks everywhere. Brothers drifting apart, staff tensions, quiet resentment building. And in the middle of that, a tweet. One tweet. A well-connected food critic chatting casually online drops a line implying an affair. It's vague, it's flippant, it reads like inside banter, and then it's deleted. End of story, right? Nope. Screenshots explode, forums light up, Reddit threads spiral into deep dives that would make conspiracy theorists proud. Suddenly, people who had never heard of Rose Hanbury are confidently explaining her entire life story to strangers online. Here's what's wild. No evidence ever followed. Not once. No photos, no messages, no corroboration. Just the same sentence repeated in different fonts. And repetition does something dangerous. It creates familiarity. Familiarity feels like truth. Rose Hanbury wasn't some outsider. She was a neighbor, a social acquaintance, someone who existed in the same rural, aristocratic bubble. That alone was enough for people to start drawing imaginary lines. The palace reacted fast. Legal warnings, quiet pressure on tabloids. British papers backed off almost immediately. In the UK, the story was effectively dead. But the internet doesn't live by British libel laws. Online, the rumor mutated, it waited, it slept, and every time Catherine stepped out of the spotlight, it woke up again. Pregnancy? Rumor. Private family time? Rumor. Health-related absence? Rumor with a megaphone. By 2024, Catherine disappears from public view while undergoing cancer treatment. Most people respond with empathy. Others didn't. The rumor resurfaced again, louder, less careful. Jokes on American television, casual references wrapped in comedy, so no one had to take responsibility. Imagine dealing with chemotherapy while strangers debate your marriage for entertainment. That's when things changed. Palace insiders later said Catherine wasn't angry, she was disgusted. There's a difference. Anger flares, disgust settles. And the moment her children became aware of the chatter, that was it. Because adults can rationalize cruelty. kids can't. So in 2025, after 6 years of silence, she spoke. And notice what she did not do. She didn't say, "Poor me." She didn't attack Rose. She didn't lash out at the press. She defended. She corrected. She ended. But she also pointed. Meghan's circle. Carefully chosen words. Not Meghan directly, not a lawsuit, not a public feud. Just enough specificity to change the conversation without igniting a firestorm. That phrase alone sent royal commentators into overdrive, because for years people had noticed something off. Every time Meghan faced negative coverage, this rumor reappeared. Staff bullying allegations? Suddenly William's name trends. PR backlash? Here comes another wave of old gossip. Even minor controversies somehow coincided with renewed whispers about Catherine. Was it orchestrated? No hard proof, but patterns don't need intent to be revealing. Podcasters began connecting dots. Influencers amplified old screenshots. Anonymous sources kept appearing with suspiciously similar language. And then there's Soho House. Always Soho House. That name pops up like a recurring character in this entire saga. The Amsterdam opening in 2018, the same social circles, the same overlapping guest lists, people who talk, people who repeat. Again, no smoking gun, just proximity, timing, momentum. Catherine clearly believed the rumor wasn't surviving on its own. It was being kept alive. And by speaking out, she cut the oxygen. The public reaction was immediate and intense. Support flooded in. Finally, dignified. She shouldn't have had to say anything, but I'm glad she did. Poll numbers jumped. Sympathy turned into solid loyalty. But the backlash came too. Some accused her of targeting Meghan unfairly. Others framed it as punching down or reopening old wounds. Social media split cleanly into camps, each convinced they were defending the truth. And that division says everything about where we are now. Because this stopped being about one rumor years ago. It became a proxy war for how people feel about the monarchy, celebrity culture, race, power, silence, and control. Meanwhile, inside the family, the damage deepened. William reportedly viewed the entire situation as a betrayal layered on top of years of public criticism. Harry, according to sources, felt squeezed from all sides, alternately blamed and defended depending on who needed a villain that week. Friends of Harry's say the realization hurt the most, that narratives he thought he escaped were still shaping his life, that he was being cast in stories he didn't write. Catherine, meanwhile, felt something unexpected after releasing the statement. Relief. Not victory, not satisfaction. Relief. Because she'd finally stopped carrying it alone. Rose Hanbury backed her immediately. Legal teams reiterated the denial. Appearances together quietly confirmed what had always been true. The rumor didn't survive daylight. Did it vanish completely? Of course not. Nothing ever truly disappears online. But it lost its momentum, its edge, its power. And power was always the point. Here's what sticks with me the most. Catherine waited 6 years. Not because she was weak, because she believed silence protected her family better than noise. But silence has limits. At some point, it stops being grace and starts being permission. And when that moment came, she didn't shout, she didn't unravel, she simply closed the door. That's not drama. That's authority. So now I want to hear from you. Should this have been addressed back in 2019, or did waiting give her words more weight? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Seriously, this is one of those topics where perspective matters. If you're enjoying these deep, slow burn breakdowns, hit like, subscribe, all that stuff. It tells me you want more of this kind of storytelling. Because this wasn't just royal gossip. It was a lesson in how narratives grow, how silence is misused, and what happens when someone finally says, that story doesn't belong to me. Thanks for spending this time with me. I really appreciate you.